Hello my wonderful people, how una dey, obedient family all over the world. My people, this one na sharp update from Tribunal. My people, make una just dey share this video, make una hit the like button, make others hear wetin dey go on for Tribunal right now. Not be everything that they tell person, nothing like say you hear am by yourself. Watch this video.
The recent events in the past few days, the different replies and final addresses from Labour Party legal team to INEC's legal team, to Tinubu and Shetima's legal team, and to APC, the legal strategy of Labour Party have become clearer, unlike when the hearing at the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal started. We can now see why they didn't tender their party agent copies of Forms EC8A in court. They relied solely on INEC certified true copies of Forms EC8A and other forms used in collating the results. You already know the probate value of INEC CTCs in election disputes. When a petitioner tenders INEC CTCs, no one can counter them because no other copy is superior to the INEC CTCs. Remember what happened in the governorship election dispute between Hope Uzodinma and Emeka Ihedioha. Not that the court was right in returning Uzodinma, but let's look at what happened in court and the type of document that all parties tendered. INEC declared Emeka Ihedioha winner of Imo State governorship election, but surprisingly, they couldn't tender INEC CTCs to back the claim. Just like what is going on now at the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, INEC couldn't submit all the documents required of them. It's not clear if Ihedioha demanded INEC CTCs of Forms EC8A, but he came to defend his win with PDP party agent copies of Forms EC8A from the contentious local government area where Uzodinma claimed he won and INEC didn't count the votes, which caused him to lose votes in the governorship election. To prove this, Uzodinma went for police copies of the governorship election results. He called a policeman to come and tender the CTCs in court. If there are police copies present in court because of their higher probate value over party agent copies, the court will rely on them instead of the party agent copies. This does not in any way excuse what the court did. We are just trying to analyze what went on. So at this stage, Uzodinma called the police to tender their copies in court. Why didn't INEC counter those police copies with their superior results? If they were sure that Ihedioha had truly won the governorship election, why didn't they back him up with the results to prove it? They know that their own copies are superior to the police copies. The question remains, why didn't they tender them? INEC declared someone winner of an election. Another candidate challenged it with police copies. And worryingly, figures contained in these police copies were different from the party agent copies tendered by Ihedioha. INEC stood by. They didn't say no. These police copies are fraudulent. Whatever they did, the most important thing is that they should have tendered their own copies to counter whatever was going on. But they failed to do that. So looking at what happened in the election dispute between Uzodinma and Ihedioha, you can appreciate why Labour Party's legal team didn't want to gamble at all. They went for the copies that no one could counter. When you are going into an election dispute like this one, you should know the people you are up against, what they are capable of. You already know the probate value of the different election results copies. If they had tendered Labour Party agent copies in court, how are you sure that these people will not bring forged INEC copies to counter them? Yes, these people are capable of anything. They are that desperate. That's why the Labour Party insisted that they must bring the INEC CTCs because they are the one with the highest probate value. It can't be countered by anyone, and once the evidence is not countered, it's already an advantage to the person that tendered it, because the court will always work with evidence that is before them. You don't come to court like the respondents did, all talk, no documents to back it up, and you expect the court to swallow everything hook, line and sinker. It doesn't work that way. So their strategy is the right approach. If you followed all the episodes, especially the testimony of the mathematician that computed the results for them, he told the court that because of the urgency, he could only finish Rivers and Benue states, which of course Labour Party won according to the INEC CTCs. So what they are trying to tell the court is that if they had the opportunity to finish tabulating all the INEC CTCs, that they will do it, and it will still show that Labour Party won. But there's still one problem: the blood results and the missing results. We'll get back to this in a moment. If there are missing and blurred results, how then did Labour Party know that they won the election? It's simple. They computed the results using their own copies. Every political party did that during the presidential election. If INEC didn't block the upload of presidential election results that Labour Party collated in their situation room would have mostly been reflected on IREV. Not just Labour Party, all political parties, their situation room results would have mostly reflected on the IREV. This is true going by the statements of many PDP members. Remember the one that talked about Labour Party votes in Lagos? That Labour Party scored more than 900,000 votes in Lagos, according to PDP's situation room. There's another one that talked about Labour Party votes in Plateau State, that the results announced by INEC didn't reflect what they collated in their situation room. Even Labaran Maku accepted openly that Labour Party won the presidential election. A PDP chieftain and a former minister. Let's take a listen.
And we were thinking that Peter Obi was a joke. Where will he go? So both PDP and APC, we were thinking, no, this man, he doesn't have structures. He will not be able to do much and so on. So, but the people somehow, young people, seized the initiative from all the politicians. For me, we lost in the presidential election. We lost truly. APC, which is the incumbent government, lost more woefully than we did.
INEC and other respondents have been busy playing down the importance of IREV, despite the electoral law and their regulations and guidelines making it mandatory that polling officers after vote counting shall use the BVAS machine to capture Form EC8A and upload it to IREV so as to protect the will of the people. They are even playing with words to confuse people. When you look at their final address, they are trying to say that electronic transfer or transmit is a different thing, that INEC didn't do electronic collation, blah, 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 that everything was done manually. Let's see how Labour Party responded in their final address to INEC. They cited Section 60, subsection 5 of the Electoral Act, which says, "The presiding officer shall transfer the results, including total number of accredited voters, and the results of the ballot in a manner as prescribed by the Commission." So this is the law that authorizes INEC to use BVAS machines and to upload everything to IREV. Yes, the manner as prescribed by the Commission can be found in the INEC manual, guidelines and regulations, where they explicitly mention the process. They even call their names, BVAS and IREV. This manual is actually what they use to train their staff. And to tell you how the law is strict about this procedure, it prescribes punishment for defaulters in Section 60, subsection 6 of the Electoral Act. It reads, "A presiding officer who willfully contravenes any provision of this section commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a fine not more than 500,000 naira or imprisonment for a term of at least 6 months. So in their final address to INEC, Labour Party legal team tried to correct their playing around with words. That transmit or transfer is a technical term which refers to transfer of digital files. As a matter of fact, the word transfer comes from the ICT protocol called File Transfer Protocol. In simple terms, when a polling officer takes a photo of Form EC8A with the BVAS machine, the form is now in digital format stored in the BVAS machine. The polling officer will now transfer the digital Form EC8A to a server, which is the IREV. So this is the procedure. It's covered in the Electoral Act. It's well spelled out with their names in the INEC manual and regulation. Like already said, the National Assembly are not expected to mention BVAS or IREV in the Electoral Act when they made the amendment. These are things that can change in the future. That's why they are mentioned in the secondary laws that derive their powers from the Electoral Act. The respondents trying to downplay all these only ends up exposing them more. This will also answer the question that many have asked, whether IREV and BVAS are mentioned in the Electoral Act. They don't need to be mentioned at all. Now, let's get back to the missing and blurred results. Labour Party have asked the court to take the blurred copies as the real copies of the results, because none of the respondents challenged or countered them with any other superior evidence. Mind you, they were certified by INEC, who claimed to have used hard copies to collate the results. But surprisingly, they didn't replace the blurred copies with the hard copies before delivering the results to Labour Party. So following what happened in Uzodinma versus Ihedioha, in the absence of a superior evidence, in the absence of Form EC8A that has a higher probate value, The court must rely on the evidence before them. So what will happen next? Since they can't decipher the scores on the blood copies, and going by the research that Labour Party made, more than 2.5 million people were accredited and voted in these polling units behind the blood results. Based on this alone, it's obvious the result can't stand because of one rule. This number is higher than the margin between Tinubu and Atiku, and also between Atiku and Peter Obi. That's going by the official INEC allocation. What does the rule say in this situation? The rule says that the results must be accounted for before a winner can be determined because they are higher than the margin of lead. The current INEC chairman did that in some states recently in the past election. Adamawa State governorship election was declared inconclusive because of this kind of scenario. So what will happen in this situation since the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal judges don't have the power to declare the election inconclusive? Before we answer this question, let's see other votes that are still missing. Yes, the margin is actually higher than 2.5 million votes. According to the research and analysis conducted by Labour Party, more than 39,000 polling unit results are inaccessible on iRev. In these polling units, about 5.5 million people were accredited and they voted on election day. So when you add these 5.5 million to 2.5, the unaccounted votes nearly triples. So more than 8 million votes are missing and INEC declared a winner. With this evidence before the judges, it can only lead to one outcome. And they have the power to do it. That outcome is invalidation and outright cancellation of the presidential election. Now, this brings another question or two. Is cancellation the ultimate goal of Labour Party? Are they no longer interested in proving they won? Well, cancellation is actually one of the reliefs being sought by the Labour Party, and in trying hard to prove that the election should be cancelled, as can be seen in all the missing results, non-upload of the presidential election results at the polling units, it's obvious that the non-compliance was substantial and it ended up affecting the outcome of the election substantially. This is very clear. When INEC can't account for more than 8 million votes, it's a substantial number that can change the outcome of the election. Take for instance, if Peter Obi or Atiku were to receive 40% of the votes out of the 8 million, the result will definitely be different. Talk more if majority of the 8 million votes came from where one candidate is very popular. Yes, Labour Party did all the analysis themselves. They have the information, assuming they were hit hard by the hidden votes. Even going by the votes that are blood, they were still able to prove that they won Rivers and Benue states. That's the ones that could be seen, not just the blood copies. So it's possible that INEC hid their votes and Labour Party didn't tender their own copies for fear of being countered with superior forged results. So on the one hand, they proved substantial non-compliance with a penalty of cancellation of the election. Now, if the election is cancelled, they can no longer benefit. And without disqualifying Tinubu, there's no guarantee that all the actors in the past presidential election won't repeat the same thing in the rerun election. Rerun is quite different from a runoff. Rerun is a result of cancellation. That means all candidates will participate again, all the 18 candidates that contested, they will all contest again in a fresh election. A runoff is when there is no clear winner, then a second election is conducted between two candidates alone to determine a winner. So basically, proving substantial non-compliance by INEC cancels out the other reliefs being sought by Labour Party. That is to declare Peter Obi the winner of the presidential election. Yes, it raises one question. Can someone benefit from a flawed process? Never mind that it affected Labour Party the most. But if the non-compliance affected the outcome, how can they prove that the non-compliance still made another person the winner? It's very, very complicated. If one of the reliefs Labour Party is seeking from the court cancels another relief, then it kind of renders that relief redundant. There's one term for it in law. In their wisdom, this is the right approach to take, considering the fact that since the Fourth Republic, no presidential election has ever been cancelled by the court. It will take massive evidence like they've provided for the court to cancel the election. It's not the outcome many are hoping for because of many reasons already mentioned and the cost implications. The only ground that cancellation of the election might be well received by many people is if the major actors in the past election won't be the ones in charge of the new election. The courts, political parties, and even National Assembly must do something about it in the event of a cancellation. The court must also contribute by starting from disqualification of the main beneficiary. It's not fiction. Tinubu is facing many credible grounds for disqualification. He cannot survive all of them. It will take a rewriting of the laws by the judges to save him, which of course they can't do. It's not within their powers. And for those asking why Mahmood Yakubu is still walking free despite all that happened, going by this statement by Sam Amadi, it seems some people are taking action already. Although this kind of legal proceeding can only be brought to court by the Attorney General through the police or any other agency, because it is the state that can prosecute him, not a private citizen.